What's up, guys? It's Iron Fist here, bringing you another edition of my What If series. Thank you guys for all the support on the last one. If you guys are new to my channel, make sure you subscribe if you end up liking this video. So, as you can see in the title, the topic of this episode is Deshaun Watson. Now, before we get into what we're doing with Deshaun Watson in this video, first I'm going to give you guys a little bit of history on him, kind of like I do in every single one of these videos, just in case you're unfamiliar with what he's done. Starting off with what he's done in college, Deshaun Watson went to Clemson University, and here's his college career stats. So for passing, he went 814 completions for 1,207 attempts, giving him a career percentage of 67.4%, 10,168 passing yards, 90 passing touchdowns, 32 interceptions, and 157.5 passer efficiency rating. And that's a little bit different from quarterback rating, so when you see a QBR number come up later, that's not the same measurement. He also had 1,934 rushing yards on 435 attempts, giving him an average of 4.4 yards per carry, with another 26 rushing touchdowns, giving him a total number of 12,102 yards and 116 touchdowns in only 3 years in college, given that he only played until his junior year. Over here to the right, you can see some of his more notable awards that he got in his college career as well. You can pause the video and take a look at those. Deshaun Watson had an amazing college career, and it had its ups and it had its downs. One of the biggest downs being the 2016 College Football Championship, where he met Alabama there and unfortunately lost a nail-biter 45-40. That was probably his lowest point in college, biggest heartbreaker, but you got to be proud as a team that you even made it there. But the sadness was short-lived, because that very next year, Deshaun Watson and the Clemson Tigers made it all the way back to the 2017 College Football Championship against none other than Alabama again, and what was probably one of the best, if not the best, college football games I have ever watched in my life. It was an absolute nail-biter, and he carried them to win 35-31 to get Clemson University a national championship. One might say he had a pretty successful college career. Later that year, he was drafted in the 2017 NFL Draft, Round 1, Pick 12, to the Houston Texans. The only quarterback selected before him was Mitchell Trubisky to the Bears and Patrick Mahomes to the Chiefs. The Houston Texans actually traded up to get Deshaun Watson, being that most of us were surprised that he was actually still on the board, so they jumped all over the opportunity to get him. Getting a quarterback in this draft was a priority because, as many of you Texans fans that are watching this know, the Texans have had massive quarterback struggles over the last few years, and it's looking like this guy is definitely your guys' answer. Because in just 6 starts, he was able to put up some of the most amazing stats we have ever seen by a rookie quarterback. In Week 2 versus the Cincinnati Bengals, they won their game 13-9. He completed 15 passes of 24 attempts, giving him a 62.5 percentage, 125 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 75.9 quarterback rating. Week 3 versus the Patriots was a little bit more of his coming out party. They did lose the game 33-36 in a nail-biter to the defending Super Bowl champs in the Patriots. He was 22 of 33 with a 66.7 completion percentage, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. 90.6 was his quarterback rating for that game. In Week 4 versus the Tennessee Titans, they absolutely put on a show. They won the game 57-14. He was 25 completions of 34 attempts, 73.5 completion percentage, 283 passing yards to 4 touchdowns, and only 1 interception with a 125.0 quarterback rating. In Week 5 versus the Kansas City Chiefs, they lost 34-42 in another close game. He was 16 of 31 with only a 51.6 completion percentage and only racked up 261 yards, which is not bad, but what was the amazing stat for that game was his 5 touchdowns to 0 interceptions, giving him a 119.8 quarterback rating. In Week 6 versus the Browns, they won their game 33-17. He was 17 of 29 for a 58.6 completion percentage, 225 passing yards, 3 more touchdowns, only 1 interception, and 103.4 quarterback rating. And in his last start in Week 8 versus the Seattle Seahawks, they lost an extremely close game, 38-41. He was 19 of 30 with 63.3 completion percentage. He threw for 402 passing yards, with 4 touchdowns. Unfortunately, had 3 interceptions, but altogether gave him a 106.9 quarterback rating. When you put all that together, these are his stats as a starter. He is 3-3 He's got 18 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, 1,597 yards in just the 6 games that he started. That's not even counting when he came into play in the first game, but he did not start that game, and those are just the games that we're looking at. His averages altogether were 62.7 completion percentage, 266.1 yards per game, and a quarterback rating of a 103.6 from just those games as a starter. At this point in the season, he was one of the front runners for MVP as a rookie. Unfortunately, after that Week 8 game versus the Seahawks and a heartbreaking injury, he tore his ACL during practice, putting him out for the rest of the 2017 NFL season, which is very heartbreaking for a lot of NFL fans, not just Texans fans, because this kid was absolutely killing it and we all wanted to see what he was truly capable of. Which brings us to the whole point in this video. What if Deshaun Watson never got injured? Which brings us over to Madden. For those of you not familiar with this series, what I do is I use Madden to simulate to create a scenario to give us a general idea of what might have happened. Of course, this is not going to be dead on accurate considering this is a video game, but it's the closest we have to any kind of those fantasy scenarios that we want to play out. So I'm recording this Monday night after the Houston Texans just lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I went ahead and started this season out in Week 17. The only game they have left is next week against the Indianapolis Colts. So we're going to go ahead and simulate that game and see how they finish the season. Right now they're 4-11. They were the only team I went and adjusted the schedule for. The other team's record are not going to line up correctly with what they actually are this season. So let's go ahead and sim this week. Alright, so it looks like they had the Texans losing in a nail-biter 35-38 to the Indianapolis Colts. Nobody really knows how that's going to play out next week. We shall see. So now you can see, according to Madden, the way the season's going to end out, the Texans are going to go 4-12. Now, let's go to what this video is really about. So here we are in Week 9 of the season, following the Week 8 game against the Seahawks, just after Deshaun Watson suffered his injury. This week we play, ironically, the Indianapolis Colts in our first meeting of the year. One fun fact to note is because it was such a detrimental injury to the team, I do have J.J. Watt on the bench not playing because that is a huge factor in how the defense plays, considering he is one of the league's best defensive players and plays a huge role for them. So I went ahead and took him out to add a little bit of realism to what's going on. Again, this is Madden. There's no true way to really tell. This is all in good fun to give us a general idea of what Madden thinks would have happened. So at this point in the season, the Texans are 3-4. We're going to go ahead and sim to the playoffs and see how they end up finishing the season had they had Deshaun Watson as opposed to him getting injured. So it ended up having them finish at 7-9. Now, of course, this is Madden. This is just a simulation. We have no idea what they really would have finished. We're going to go over which games it thought they would have won and which games it thought they would have lost. So here we are at the Seahawks, the last game that he played in. Now, of course, that score and these scores here are not going to be what they actually were. All I can do is choose whether they win or lose the game. Now, from this point on, these are all just simulations. So the next week, it had them losing in Week 9 to the Colts. I don't really see that happening, especially with how Deshaun Watson was playing and the team starting to come together. I definitely see them winning that game. Now, of course, we'd never really know, of course. Colts could have came out and played absolutely phenomenal. Losing to the Rams, can see that. The Rams have been absolutely amazing this year. Winning against the Cardinals, definitely can see that happening. Losing to the Ravens, that one's up in the air. The Ravens have come together a lot here lately at the end of the year. Again, every single one of these losses, there's really no way to tell because of how well Deshaun Watson is playing. And as you guys can see how much of a difference a good quarterback can make, Jimmy Garoppolo has now led the 49ers to 4 straight wins, including the one this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are the #1 defense in the NFL. So that alone tells you anything can happen with a really good quarterback. Next, it has them losing to the Titans. With how the Titans have been back and forth this year, I definitely could see them beating the Titans. And then beating the 49ers, that one's, with how Jimmy Garoppolo is playing, I really don't know. They lost to him without Deshaun, but who knows? That one's up in the air. You know, I really don't think I could lean either way because Deshaun Watson was on pace to have an MVP season, and Jimmy Garoppolo is doing something we've never seen before. So there's really no way to truly have that one. So I'll just mark it up as a loss for them because the San Francisco 49ers came in and beat them. They earned that one. So The Jaguars, they have them beating the Jaguars. And again, as we've seen the 49ers do this week, I'm not going to say anything about them losing that game with Deshaun Watson because you never really know. That being said, the Jaguars, although they did lose to the 49ers, have an absolutely phenomenal defense. So you really got to have some weapons, and that is absolutely something that the Texans have. So that's a pretty good matchup. Plus, they know the team. They see them twice every year. Has them losing to the Steelers, and with how the Steelers are playing, that would have been a very tough game for Deshaun. I really don't know, again, quite what he could have pulled off, especially into the year, possibly fighting for playoffs at this point to try and make it, and still trying to put up MVP caliber numbers. That's a really good game, but I'm going to give the edge to the Steelers here with or without Deshaun just because of the absolute raw firepower that team has. Although they are an absolute mess, they are a dangerous offensive team. And the last week, winning to the Colts, I absolutely see that happening. Like I said earlier, I think with Deshaun Watson, the Texans are a decent amount better than the Colts. So I would give the win to the Texans. So based on my personal idea of what I think they would have done, if we go back up here to the Seahawks, at this point they were 3-4. Colts, I give them a win, 4-4. Rams, probably going to give them a loss to that. That'd be 4-5. Cardinals will win. That'd be 5-5. Ravens, with how he's playing, I'd give him the edge in that game. Although the Ravens are doing fantastic, I'm going to say they'd win that at 6-5. Titans, another win at 7-5. 49ers, just because they earned it, I'm going to give the 49ers the win here. So I'm going to say 7-6. Jaguars, you never really know. Going to give the edge to Jacksonville because of what they've been able to do this year. So we're going to say 7-7. Steelers, I'm going to say the Steelers would have won that game, although it would have been very close. That's 7-8, and I'm going to give them a final win at 8-8 against the Colts. That being said, my toss-up games are the Jaguars, because you've seen them against the 49ers this week, lose that game, as well as the 49ers, because you really never know what could have happened with Deshaun Watson there. But aside from that, possibly 10-6 season, I'm going to give it a little bit more of a lean towards 8-8. But nobody can really know. This is all just for fun, just a scenario. Make sure you guys post your comments below what you think Deshaun Watson would have been able to carry the Texans to, and your guys' overall opinions on what he's been able to do and how you think he'll be able to play next season. I personally am very excited for him. He is phenomenal and has came into the league and absolutely started tearing it up, much like the season Dak Prescott had last year. But Deshaun Watson has taken what Dak Prescott did last year and adding a little bit to it this year to make it even more of a phenomenal season before he went out. And I'm a huge Cowboys fan, but I'll honestly say he was having a better season than what Dak Prescott had last year. Overall, these videos are for fun. I want to hear your guys' opinions down below. Also, make sure you guys comment below what you want me to do next in this series. If you enjoy these videos and you're new to the channel, be sure to drop a subscribe. Helps me out a lot. Make sure you tune in to all of them. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, bye.